Your Highness, Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid bin Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, it's a pleasure to have you. Thank you for joining us. Please, a warm welcome. Great to have you here at Expand North Star, which is a cornerstone of GITEX Global, as you surely know. And together they're creating the world's largest tech and startup show. And together here, we're bringing 2,000 startups to Dubai, 1,000 investors, and participants from more than 100 countries. And that's really exciting because this year marks a milestone celebration, one that we're really excited about. 10 years of Expand North Star and 45 years of GITEX Global. And with 45 years of GITEX Global, we're officially stepping into a new chapter. Now, what you need to know about this chapter is that GITEX Global and Expand North Star are being combined in 2026 under one roof at Dubai Exhibition Center at Expo. And that's particularly exciting because under his directive of His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, there is a bold new execution, a new name, a new theme, GITEX 5.0, which goes under the forward-thinking vision of a techcation. Now, we all know what a staycation is, we know what a workcation is, but techcation is bringing together tech and staycation, reflecting Dubai's ambition to seamlessly merge technology, tourism, and of course also a wonderful, exciting lifestyle. And with that, of course, now I'm excited about the next stage, the next session that we will have here on this very stage, on the 10X stage. We're going to look into the next decade of startup innovation. The UAE itself is positioning itself as a global launchpad for disruptive startups. And no one could have said it better than, of course, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum. The future belongs to those who can imagine it, design it, and execute it. And that is what is happening and has been happening. And the person who will be now diving deeper with our speaker is no one else than Yasir Khan, the editor-in-chief of Thomson Reuters Foundation. He launched and led the foundation's digital news content platform, Context. And what you need to know about it is that he's driving global digital transformation and building an international multimedia team by directing in-depth journalism in climate, inequality, and technology. And with him in conversation is no one else than His Excellency Omar Sultan Al Olama. Thank you very much. Yes, we can already clap. Clapping is always fine. He serves as the Minister of State for Artificial Intelligence, Digital Economy, and Remote Work Applications. He's also the Director General of the Prime Minister's Office, Managing Director of the World Government Summit, and the Chairman of the Dubai Chamber of Digital Economy. And he joined and was appointed in 2017, becoming the world's first Minister of Artificial Intelligence. And since then, a lot has happened, and we're going to hear about it. So please welcome to the stage Yasir Khan and His Excellency Omar Sultan Al Olama. Welcome.
Thank you for coming, everyone, and thank you for joining us, Your Excellency. It's good to be here.
My pleasure, Yasir. We have two things in common, glasses and gray hair. So I hope the audience is able to tell the difference between both of us.
Look, I'm going to dive into our questions right off the bat, if that's okay with you, because your time is precious. Your Excellency, the UAE has made no secret of its ambition to be the world's startup capital. When you speak to founders here or globally, as Minister for Artificial Intelligence, as Minister for Remote Work, what's the pitch you give them about why they should start here rather than in Silicon Valley or Singapore?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. I think that we're starting off with a very important topic here. What makes us different to Silicon Valley? What makes us different to the incumbents? We're the new player in town. I'd like to maybe answer this question with a story, if you allow me. I'm going to be very quick on this. So let's imagine there are two kids, one that lives in the forest and one that lives in the desert. The kid that lives in the forest spends his days looking at the beautiful trees, looking at the beautiful landscapes, looking at the butterflies and the animals. And all he thinks about is, this is such a beautiful forest, and I can admire it all day. The kid who lives in the desert actually looks out and sees nothing. But one thing he does see is a blank canvas that he can invest in, that he can shape, in his own way. In the UAE, we believe that yes, we're in the desert, but it's a blank canvas that can be shaped into anything that we want it to be shaped into. 50 years ago, people here were living in very humble houses, but they did not lack ambitions. They went and they attracted people from east and west to try to shape a future out of here that most people thought was audacious. So at that point of time, if I mentioned to anyone that Dubai and the UAE would be home to a unicorn, they'd laugh, because we barely had electricity, we barely had running water, we barely had infrastructure. 20 years ago, if we told a single person that we're going to have a unicorn as well, the same response would have been true. They would have said, you're just a niche player in a part of the world that's known for turbulence. Why would anyone come to you? But what we had was consistently, we were delivering upon a very clear vision. And what we were able to do is attract people that were dreamers, people that are as audacious as we are, and people that are not looking at the forest and saying, we have a beautiful forest in front of us, but people that are looking at the desert and saying, what can we create out of this land? Each and every single one of you represents that. I've met people this morning that have flown in from New York, that have flown in from Vietnam, that have flown in from every corner of the world. And one thing they say consistently is, the energy here is different, and we believe that you guys are dreamers. Most governments, unfortunately, do not have the audacity to dream. Most governments look at what they have and they say, how can we keep it as it is, instead of what more can exist here?
I want to talk a little bit about that leap. I mean, this country has moved from, I remember being here in 2007 and making a documentary about how half the world's construction cranes were here. And you've obviously moved from building infrastructure to building ecosystems, right? What would you say have been the boldest policy decisions that really unlocked that transition?
So the boldest policy decisions, and I'm going to say something that is going to be counterintuitive. Most people are going to think that we did something that's out of the ordinary, like introduce blockchain in policy making or AI, which we are doing currently. But the boldest policy decision was to focus on what matters to people. What really does matter to people, to the founders, the investors, anyone else. Safety and security is number one. So we wanted to ensure that quality of life, that safety and security is the foundation of everything that happens here. That's why we were able to get people that really are the best of the best. Second is an equal playground for everyone. So no matter where you're from, no matter what your background, no matter what your social status is, if you come to the UAE and if you come to Dubai, you are going to have a fair playground where you can succeed. And then the third thing was, we did not think of what we have, we always thought of what can be done more. So in every single sector, let's talk about blockchain. Blockchain, the technology as a whole in 2015 was seen as this fringe industry that people didn't want to touch. We had the first blockchain council established here. We started to attract crypto companies. Today we are the crypto capital of the world. The same is true with AI. Most people started talking about AI after ChatGPT. His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid and His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed, our Prime Minister and President, went and launched a strategy, an ambitious strategy for AI in 2017. The UAE as a government, so if you look at the investments that Abu Dhabi has been making in AI, they started investing in AI since 2008. So 2008 was early days, like very, very early days. Abu Dhabi was investing in chips with global foundries. They are investing in companies that were focused on AI, because we don't think in intervals of quarters. We don't think in 4-year intervals like other countries. We think in multi-decade intervals. So all of our thoughts are, the next 10 years, the next 50 years, the next 100 years. And we think of not just who's here today, but the generations that are going to come in the future.
I want to pick up on AI a bit selfishly, because you are the Minister of AI and I live and breathe this stuff. You can attract people here, you can have the vision, you can have investment here. How are you going to implement artificial intelligence in the way this country works, in the way the UAE works? What's your priority? Where do you start? And what's your return on investment?
Okay, you're trying to put me under the magnifying glass here, but I'm ready for it.
Just doing my job, sir.
No, great. Okay, so in 2017, I'll just say a funny story. In 2017, I went to this event and I was on stage and someone said, "You guys are so focused on AI, why is AI important?" And a member of the audience said, "Yes, I have no idea why the UAE is focused on automotive insurance." So at that point of time, no one thought of artificial intelligence as a thing. This was 2017, right? So it wasn't multi-decades ago, it was less than 10 years ago. Now, our view of AI is maybe multiple faceted. The first is we don't care about AI just for the glitz and the glamour of it, right? So it's not just about economic gains, it's not just about productivity, it's really about quality of life. So how do we deploy this technology to improve the lives of every single person that comes to this country? And I'll give you a simple example. For anyone here that has a residency to the UAE or is a national of the UAE, you can actually come through Dubai airport without pulling out your passport or dealing with a single human being. You can walk across the smart gates, look at the camera, cut across the airport without having to stop. That is a positive use of AI that focuses on quality of life. That's not a use of AI that, is a robot coming and saying, "Hello, I am agent X or Y," and really making the actual experience an experience where there's no value add. The second is it needs to be a non-controversial and safe use of AI. So you're going to see that every single use of AI here is one that works, that doesn't need to be in your face, and that is secured in a certain way. So we have, the National Cybersecurity Council that does a fantastic job ensuring that these models are safeguarded, that we are deploying AI effectively. And then finally, there are certain domains where AI can be used and deployed effectively, non-controversially, and can improve quality of life, and others where it can't. So we're deploying AI in infrastructure development. We're doing a lot there. So you can save billions of dollars, you can make people's lives better, you can increase safety and security, and you can finish your projects much faster. It's a great use of AI. You can also deploy AI in tourism in certain countries. We aren't doing this as aggressively as others because it will entice companies to take people's personal information. It will do things that might harm people. So we're trying to have a balanced approach where we understand what the end game is and we're doing it with very active steps. And then finally, we're doing a lot to try to attract the best brains and the best companies here. So think about the number of AI startups in the UAE. So we have over 1,500 companies that are pure AI companies. It's the highest in the region, right? We don't believe that we've reached the end point. We believe that this is a starting point. Our goal is to reach 10,000 companies in the next 5 years. And to try to create that, we need to create a flywheel where the best and the brightest people can come and call the UAE home.
The UAE had its AI strategy in 2017. I mean, that's quite visionary. You were appointed in 2017 as the first Minister for AI in the world. And in the strategy, there is a strong focus on transparency. And you just mentioned the safe use of AI and the responsible use of AI. I want to ask you about that transparency. Do you see transparency in AI use as a business imperative? And how critical is that to your vision for the use of AI in this country?
It's definitely important, and I'm going to be frank here. I think most of the times when we talk about transparency, the need for transparency is a need because most people don't understand how AI works. So if I deploy AI for the sake of deploying it because I want to increase my valuation as a company, add a zero to whatever valuation I have because I said, I use the two letters A and I will use it without knowing what the impacts are. It is a black box, to a large extent. So I think transparency is necessary. It's also important that we try to combat ignorance. So in most countries, you see that the decision makers don't understand AI and they deal with it as a necessity, but not really knowing what it entails. What we did here, so the first 5 years, we focused a lot on creating a program called the UAE AI program, it brought senior level representatives from every government department and took them through a 1-year program to actually learn what AI is and isn't, to understand what is good and bad uses of AI.
This is people from your government or from your
so they're just people from our government, very senior representatives. They went to the University of Oxford, they went to other universities where they actually became students to understand. So we wanted to eradicate ignorance. Beyond that, we did another thing, which is, we heard the US talk about having chief AI officers. I don't think the US currently has chief AI officers to the extent that was promised previously. We have a chief AI officer in every single government department, whether it's locally in Dubai or on the federal level as well. And the need for that is important. If you want transparency, who is the person that is accountable? I can't be accountable as a minister that's sitting far away looking at every single government department, but these chief AI officers are. So to enact it, you need to do things that take many years to put in place. We've had this strategy since 2017. I didn't put it myself. It was actually something that was put in place before the minister.
I was thinking more about companies that are either investing here or that are starting here. How do we ensure transparency in AI use in those companies? You've talked at the governmental level. I'm talking at the business level.
So, okay, what we can do, it's about what we can and can't do. We want to make sure that we don't affect innovation. So what we did was we introduced something called the UAE AI seal, and there's something called the Dubai AI seal. So if you are an AI company, to prove that you're an AI company, because many people would pitch to government, to prove that you are a credible AI company, you should actually come and get an AI seal. You are incentivized to do so. You'll get a contract versus anyone else who doesn't, right? And in that, you have to show us how your models work. It's like the Safety Institute, but without looking specifically at safety, trying to understand what your company does. Then, and your ranking depends on what you do in the UAE. So if you are just an AI company, you will get a D. The seal would be a D. If you have a representation in the UAE, the rank would go up to a C. If you do some R&D in the UAE, your ranking would be a B. If you have your
almost like a health check for restaurants.
So it's like
a rating system.
It's a ranking system.
Yeah.
And then if you have your headquarters here, you actually build your models here. Your team actually that works on these models are in the UAE. Then you get an S ranking.
Right.
So as a government agency, if someone comes to pitch, if there are two players that are exactly the same, one has an S ranking and the other has a C ranking, the government agency is actually required to go with the S ranking company because it has done more for the UAE and it's more transparent.
I mean, that there have been companies who've been here for decades, right? Construction companies, grocery stores. What about those companies that are not startups, that are not coming in now, who are having to prove their AI worth to you? But what about the ones that have existed here for a long time?
So construction companies don't fall within my remit, but if they have AI...
That's what I mean.
Yeah, if they have AI, they will want a ranking. So they would actually be incentivized to come to us and talk to us. We don't just talk to startups. Anyone and everyone who wants to be a part of this can come and talk to us. The second thing that we're doing, and we're doing a lot of that through the Dubai Chamber, is we're incentivizing traditional businesses to move into the AI space. If you think about the UAE's position, so we are global leaders in the logistics space, in the tourism space, in the airline space, and so on and so forth. To maintain our competitive edge, we need to actually bring and introduce AI, because the market share that we have captured in the past 5 decades is there because we've actually invested in new ways of doing business. The next 5 or 50 years are going to be 50 years that are going to take us to either becoming the global player because of AI, or will be one of the many players that are fighting over very small market shares. So we want to make sure that all of our industries become AI first and AI native as well.
I want you to, this is a double-barrel question, which is a terrible thing to do for journalists, but I'm going to do it with you. I need you to tell me what does success look like and what failure looks like.
Okay. So all of your questions have been double-edged. So I just want to say this. Yeah. But you're doing a fantastic job making sure that you're fair with your questions. So success to me is AI where it matters without people having to know it's AI. I don't want to rub it in people's faces. It needs to improve your quality of life with an order of magnitude improvement. That is success. So you shouldn't feel it. It should help make your life better. The quality of life that you would live in the UAE compared to anywhere else would be an order of magnitude better. That is success. Failure would be you come to the UAE, you see robot dogs that just move their hands, and people using things that are gimmicks to tell you that we are an AI nation. That is failure, because that's going to be a deployment and use of AI, and sometimes not even AI. Sometimes it's robotics or other sectors. But in a way that doesn't really improve your life. Like this robot dog does not improve your life at all, but is a gimmick that people present to you. And it's mostly, if you look at it as an equation, most of the time, the deployments that are of that sort, the more ignorance you have, the more people look for quick wins that are gimmicks. The more understanding there is, the more people think about, okay, what ultimately would this deployment mean for the improvement of the life of that person? And that's what really matters to me.
Is there anything I've forgotten to ask you that you would like to talk about?
So, why does it matter for the UAE to succeed in this domain? I think that's an important thing, because everyone wants to be an AI player. Everyone wants to look at this sector and consider themselves market leaders. We are proving the impossible. And how we're doing that is you're looking at a country that is relatively small, all right? We are big as a country with our ambitions, but in terms of our size, we are relatively small. In a very turbulent region, facing a lot of headwinds because no one expects that we can be a player in the domain of artificial intelligence. And against all of these odds, we are proving that we can. What this is going to do is it's actually going to incentivize everyone, whether they're in the East or the West, whether they're in Africa or in Europe or anywhere else, that it can be done. It's important, I think, not just for us to succeed, but for everyone that has come here, that has experienced this, to first get the word out and to help us understand what we can do better. Because we don't claim to be the best or the smartest. We don't claim to be the know-it-alls. We claim to be the best students. We claim to be the best listeners. And one thing we can promise is no matter what we go through, if people come to us with advice, we're going to take it seriously and make sure that it's implemented in the coming years.
Excellency, thank you very much.
Thank you.